So, Dr. Zulfikar Khan, thank
Hello.
you so much for being on our show.
Thank you very much for
Now,
inviting
you have
me.
a wonderful relationship with Dr. Rizwan Chowdhury. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, first of all, Ilman, I'm really sorry once again for you, such a great loss, but the pedigree which he left behind is for many to follow. So, I met Mr. Chowdhury in 2019, just before COVID, and it was in his restaurant. So initially, I just saw him sitting there on a red sofa. I was hesitant to talk, but he was so engaging that he came to me and shook my hand, and I could feel the firm grip. The way he shook the hand was really sort of welcoming. So we started talking. And first time, I don't get impressed by people so easily. But he was one of those people I got impressed very, very quickly. Because the thing which I saw, the broad spectrum of disciplines in which he had authority. He was talking about Sufism, he was talking about literature, Shakespeare, you name it. And that was something which was very, very inspiring for me. And that was the day, we became so good friends. During COVID time, obviously, whatever he was doing, that was phenomenal. That further inspired me. The way he raised all those funds. Then, basically, we started meeting very regularly. During COVID times, there was isolation. So he used to sometime invite me to his restaurants, his son, and we used to sit down, have a chat. And other times he used to come to my offices in Waltham Abbey. Now, my office, this is in Waltham Abbey. It is situated in a very old building from 15th centuries, a very beautiful building. So he used to come, try to sit down there, have a cup of hot chocolate with me, and say, well, this is a beautiful, stately home. He always used to sit there and talk. And we used to talk for hours, and sometimes son used to go away to have a drive and come back. So we had a lot of, and then I introduced him to, I'm blessed with two daughters, and they were quite impressed. And again, one of them is in English literature. And once she started talking about Shakespeare and the way he expanded, he could actually talk for hours, from a drama. I think it was Hamlet. He started reciting word by word, which was so inspiring that at his age he could remember all this. I don't know how never asked him even. Maybe it was hesitation that what is your qualification like? But he was, in many disciplines, he was so qualified. It was really, really good for me. And during our time, I was at the receptive end. From him, I learned a lot of things, which will continue with me, for a long time. One thing which I know, that each of us, when we will passage through this planet called Earth, we will leave a footprint.
Of course, yes.
Some of us, those footprints will worth following, and others worth avoiding. And I personally think his footsteps need following. He was compassion, his heart for people which are in miseries. He was a phenomenal gentleman.
Thank you. And what would you do in terms of, as a collective, how would you think you're going to go forward in 2026 to remember him and to be inspired by him, would you say?
Do you want to?
Yes. As I mentioned on the last programme, there is a relative who's volunteered to compile all my father's poems into one book. And we're going to hand a copy of that book to each of the relatives and close friends so that the legacy will live on. I think that's a wonderful way to memorialise my father's legacy.
With me, obviously, it's many things which I will take. It's just capturing an ocean in a small bottle. But what I learned from him a lot, during that small span of time. But three important messages which he gave to me. You don't have to be young to be useful.
Yeah, of course.
That is the first. And you don't have to be famous to be impactful. He did
Brilliant.
it. And you don't have to be wealthy to make a change.
Of course.
And these are those 3 points which will remain with me. I was recently, there are a few producers which came around from all over the world, Canada, Australia, and they met me. And I actually invited his son as well there
Yeah.
to discuss a film about his life, because this is going to be something.
I think that'd be a wonderful idea.
Yeah, that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
So they came to. I said, well, I've got a project, because they wanted me to get engaged with some related to drugs,
Of course, yeah.
pharmaceuticals. And I said, well, this is the point where you should meet up. And so we met up with these guys. And I think it's phenomenal story to tell.
Of course.
Of
No, we
this
really
gentleman.
appreciate you all coming on the show. I just wanted to come back to you really quickly. Any last reflections and moving forward?
Okay, now, just I want to say about his, the poem. It's a specialty in this in the Bengali poem. There are a lot of kinds of poems. Yeah, his special side was it was balladist, balladic poem,
Okay.
and he was a balladist poet. What is balladist? They instantly make up the poem and say to the people. That is called balladist. That's why I was attracted first time when I saw him, 2010 or
Yeah, of
something
course,
like this,
yeah.
in a poetry session. And then we introduced each other. That's
Yeah.
it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm because from my childhood, I was really attracted to the balladist poets and poems in my, in Bangladesh when I was a child boy. And as a man, what can I say? He's really a live man.
Yeah, of course.
He's alive.
Yeah, no, I
And-
really appreciated you
Yeah,
all coming on the
yes,
show
yes,
today.
it's very good.
But we are going to be moving on because you've got something for us, haven't you?
Yes, I don't know whether you mind as I read a ode to my father that I wrote in
We,
February.
yeah, very conscious of time
Yes, very much
because
so.
we'd like to move on to the next segment.
Yes. Do we have time?
Just very quickly, yes, we
The
do.
First and Last Embrace, the title. My father belonged to the world in a way he never quite belonged to us. He was a people's person, a people's poet, his words drifting easily into crowded rooms, into tea houses and wedding halls, into the open palms of strangers who carried his verses home. Each year he returned like a migrating bird to Sylhet, to the green hush of his village, to the call of earth that knew his name before I did. Bangladesh held him with the familiarity we envied. After 1991, when the fault line split our home into two, he became a visitor in the story of my growing up. He lived amongst relatives, a cherished guest, while we, his own, waited in the margins of his time. We hardly saw him. Love in those years felt like a rumour passed from house to house. And yet he lived long, 96 years long, a testament to his generation. Still, I cannot help but think he might have reached 100, might have walked further into time, had gentler hands steadied him in those final fragile years. The last 7 weeks and 2 days were held by the Royal London Hospital in East London, a place of white corridors and humming machines, and somewhat softened into a gathering place, into a social hub, as if the world he loved had followed him there. Relatives came, stories bloomed at his bedside, laughter rose carefully between beeping monitors. We marked his 96th birthday, my mother's 79th, my niece's bright new year of life. Christmas lights flickered in December's hush. We crossed into the new year, all within the small geography of his hospital room. Though his voice thinned to almost nothing, though food lost its appeal, his heart stayed, his hearing stayed a faithful sentinel. I would speak close to him, believing the ear is the last door to close. I hope our words reached him, that he gathered them, like the poems he once carried, turning them over in quiet. Perhaps in that room he felt it, the semblance of being treasured, of being cared for, of being at the centre rather than the edges of our lives. I hope the values he stood for, community, dignity, belonging, circled back to him in those final days, settling on his chest like a benediction. I hope they gave him comfort. I hope they gave him peace for all the distances, geographical, emotional, unspoken, there were two moments that book-ended us. The first embrace when I was too young to understand how arms can shape a lifetime, and the last, frail shoulders encircling me, 96 years of living between us, when he held me, not as the world's poet, not as Silet's wandering son, but simply as my father. In that final clasp, there were no separations, no missed years, no crowded rooms, only the quiet truth of skin against skin, the first and the last.
Thank you so much. I mean, what a touching poem that was. I'm sure everyone at home will really feel something with that poem. I am very conscious of time, but I want to say a huge thank you to you all, Almona Chowdhury, Mozibul Haq Moni, and Dr. Zulfikar Khan. We really appreciate you coming onto the show, and I'm sure that everyone who is watching at home will pray for Dr. Islam Chowdhury for all the work that he has done throughout the years, and I'm sure you'll be all reunited in Jannat al-Firdaus. Now, we will now go to the kitchen segment, so we will be going for a break. We'll see you shortly.